I'm the G to the M-E-E gang, game free E. What's up, guys? It's your boy, the Insane Game Freak, and Happy New Year. Hopefully, everyone's doing good, living fine. Life smells like wine. That's not a saying. Jesus. Anyways, this was not really the intention to be the first video of 2025, well, main channel video anyway, but hey, we're here. It is what it is. So my boy J-Man sent a video under video suggestions in the Discord. Join the Discord if you haven't, link in the description. Sent me a video asking me to talk about the subject matter, which is the Oreo situation. Now, the name of the video proper is Not Black Enough for Black People, but Too Black for Everyone Else. That's the name of the video, but the thumbnail says being an Oreo, so I always think of it as the Oreo video. Now, for those of you who are not initiated, an Oreo is a pretty simple term. It's essentially black on the outside, white on the inside, but essentially a black person who acts white, according to other black people. Now, apparently white people have called black people Oreos as well, but I'll be honest with you, I've never experienced a white person calling me an Oreo. It's always been black people who call me Oreo. And the video is from a YouTuber known as Brian the Womanican. I don't read out YouTube names out loud much, so it's like the Womanican. The Womanican. All right, let me relax. But Bris, she made a video about it, kind of talking about her own experiences, and that's really what it is. But I do find it interesting that she and I live in the same state, and I have a couple other friends who have struggled with this, who also live in Georgia. And I'm just like, that's interesting. So she's talking about how kind of like her struggles and her history with being called an Oreo, what she did as a kid to kind of work through it, and where she is at with it now as an adult. And I figured it doesn't hurt to really give my own experience, especially since we're in the same state anyway. So it's just different perspectives from different parts of the state, the way I look at it as. Her struggle, I'm not going to recap her whole video, but her struggle mainly revolved around wanting to be accepted. She was one of those weird kids who talked too white for black people around her. So a lot of her struggle as a child was trying to be accepted by the black community. I hate to say it. That sounds so messed up. And my history, although has similar to struggles, that was not how I dealt with it. Because the thing we have in common is that we were both considered weird by our peers, specifically our black African-American peers. Now, the city I grew up in, I actually went and checked my statistics to see my city is predominantly black. Like, it's 55% black here. So I was surrounded by more black people. And I have more racial issues with black people because of it. I didn't really have any of those racist white people issues. Or if I did, it was nowhere near the struggles I was dealing with on the black side of things. And I think people don't realize it, that even though racists exist in all races, I think it hurts more when it's your own race than it does any other race. Like, yeah, sure, race is white people, of course. But when your own black people are hurting you as a child and you don't understand why, it's frustrating. So I'll go through my premise and, you can just kind of take from it what it will. So I would say I was pretty bathed in black culture as a child from jump. I didn't even get really much white experiences until maybe like near high school, late middle school, near high school, because I went to a public school that was predominantly black around my mom and the rest of my family, which is predominantly black. Actually, they were all black. I don't know why I'm saying predominantly. They were all black. I didn't really have a lot of experiences with white kids, but for whatever reason, I still grew up relatively well-spoken because my mom's well-spoken. My mom doesn't really use a lot of slurred speech and slang, which is funny because my sister, who's like 3.5, 4 years younger than me, has more of a black slang than I do. But that's also because she went to a different school when she got older. We both went to the same elementary schools for the most part. But I grew up and I love cartoons. I love Pokemon. I was watching Kids WB and Fox Box and ABC's One Saturday Morning as a child, watching Tex Avery's show, Cartoon Network, Groovies, and What a Cartoon. That was like my entire childhood. And then, I picked up a Sega Genesis, a Super Nintendo controller, and I was bathed in like nerd and animation culture. And so as a result, I didn't grow up like speaking the way a lot of my other friends did. They all spoke with slang. Hell, there were white kids who were speaking with slang better than I was. Like, that's how bad it was. And that's when I got my first like experience being called an Oreo. Like, oh, you don't. It didn't really happen to me until I probably would say middle school. But the disconnect got worse as I got older. Like, I had a bunch of cool black friends. I was like, we were chilling and just living. But that's also because we were younger and we hadn't really developed personalities. But when I hit like middle school and we started going through that change, the disconnect got way worse, way worse. And I realized, and so in her case, she always wanted to join the black friends. For me, I had to kind of go again. I had to like fight my anger that I had because it always reminded me of that scene in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's the scene, it's the episode where Carlton and Will are trying to get into a fraternity and they're doing all the hazing, all that stuff, right? Hell Week. And for whatever reason, the head of the fraternity has it out for Carlton. He's like, oh, you're a Bel-Air, you're prep, you're a sellout. And as I got older, even though I thought Will was cool, I related to Carlton more because Carlton had these moments that correlated with me more. And this is one of his key moments when it comes out publicly that he would never let Carlton join the fraternity because, hey, you want a real brother. You ain't quote unquote down with the cause. You grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth. You don't understand the struggle. And I understand why black people feel this way because the majority of black people start off in the struggle. But I feel like there was a misunderstanding that like as we gained more opportunity, whether we took those opportunities, that we were given those opportunities, but the more our race had opportunities, the more you would have kids growing outside of that lifestyle. And when you grow outside of that lifestyle, that means those kids won't grow up in the same ways as other kids did. The problem is that we're all still black. So when we try to connect with each other, those kids who grew up in better areas feel more disconnected and more hated by their own race than they do. So even with their struggles with white people, I think there's a good example she puts in her video where she's like, black people expect her to be here. And so when she's here, she has to play up being black to meet them here. And I've done that. I still kind of do that in certain situations because to me, it's just easier to get through the interaction. It's hard when you don't connect to anything. But let me finish the Carlton thing first. But Carlton has this cool speech at the end where he's like, black isn't what I'm trying to be, it's what I am, which is something I very much relate to. He said, we're going through the same race, jumping the same hoops, so why are you trying to trip me up? If you ask me, you're the real sellout. That is a very poignant thing for me because that's how it felt. It felt like I was getting undercut by my own people because I was different from them, which is the same mindset as one would say the oppressors had. So it's frustrating to not, because when I got older, I had to recognize that like the reason why it was a struggle is because we were different. And my mother trying to do better for me and trying to get me into a better situation, unfortunately created a disconnect with my very race. So now other black people can't connect with me anymore, or even less now, because I don't have anything in common. On top of the fact that my interests didn't even align. Like, I like video games, right? They like video games. Like, black people like video games, but the stereotypical black people video games is things like 2K, Call of Duty, and GTA. GTA was like the only crossover, and it wasn't even like my main thing. My favorite type of genre of video games is RPGs. Especially JRPGs, and they don't know nothing about that. None of the people I talked to knew shit about that. It was like, damn, so I can't connect on video games. I don't like sports. These motherfuckers talking about LeBron and Jordan and Steph Curry and all that other shit. I don't watch basketball. I don't watch football. I didn't watch golf. I had no sport connection. So that killed me there as well. And then the other thing was like shoes and girls. Well, I've been wearing glasses since I was in 5th grade, and I had braces the majority of my high school career. I wasn't really the guy getting girls, so I couldn't do that, and I didn't care about shoes. Particularly because I also thought it was a waste of money to be that obsessed with buying $100, $200 shoes. But the point is, I had no bridge to kind of like cross. People who fuck with me were people who also were a little nerdy like me. And most of my close black friends, even now to a lesser degree, are all in that same kind of boat of being kind of weird. Some of them were weirder than others. Some of them could assimilate more. The point is, my struggle was that I had no connection. And then I was also being mocked and made fun of for being different and not having that connection. And so I wasn't trying to join them by the time I turned 18, I didn't care anything about that. I recognized I was just going to be who I was going to be, and I took that L. My struggle for a while was being insecure about it. It's funny because a lot of people who talk to me now, and a lot of you guys would think, based on these videos, I'm very like extroverted and I talk a lot and I'm very crazy. I'm not. My mom will tell you as a child, I was very, very quiet. Part of the reason why is because I couldn't, is because of that lack of connection I could make on top of being made fun of. Like, if I'm a nerdy kid, I'm a nerdy black kid, and my only connection to other black people was like old school black shit. Like, for example, I was bathed in like old school hip hop and R&B all the way up until like the 2010s probably. And I watched a lot of the old school black movies. I was watching Boys in the Hood and Juiced and Menace to Society. Like, I know all that shit, right? Ricky! Let me I still love those movies, right? But like, I wasn't into the Tyler Perry crap. And I think one thing that was more damaging to me than anything else was what I was told in terms of my dating future. And I think it bothered me for a while. In some ways, it still kind of does. I had a black coworker at my job when I was 16, when I used to work at the library, who stopped me. I think we were just talking about dating anyway and talking about the kind of wives. I think me and my friend were talking about what kind of wives we had. And then like our older coworker who was like 30 at the time or like 29 was talking to us and was like, well, I can see you with such and such and I can see you with such and such. But the one thing she said to me that always irked the shit out of me, she said, I can't see you with a black woman. That's what she told me. She couldn't see me with a black woman. And to me, that's the same bar as saying, you probably will end up with like a white or an Asian woman. And I hate it because to me, it's like another slam against me based off of how well spoken I am and how I don't really indulge with a lot of like stereotypical black things. What you're saying is that a black woman wouldn't be interested in a guy like me. And to be fair, it wasn't like there wasn't any truth in why she was saying it, but I think what bothered me is that it was being said in the first place. That it all, to me, I also view that as more of a dig on black women than I do on myself, but it still bothers me that she thought it was okay to say. I think of it as a dig on black women because what you're saying is that black women are so basic and stereotypical that they would only go for one kind of guy. And I'm just too far away from that because I like anime and video games and I don't really watch sports, right? And I think that frustrated me a lot too as a kid. I feel like this video is gonna be all over the place, but I think sometimes this is kind of one of those videos I kind of want to just ramble about anyway. My struggle very much was just accepting that is who I am and to just be more confident in being that person. And I'm like 50-50. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes I get fucking exhausted. You know how exhausting it is when you just want to have a conversation and the first part of the conversation is no, because I'm not into fucking sports. No, you don't really watch the game. No, you don't really play. You don't really deal with these you don't like these kind of shoes and you don't follow like famous shoe brands. No, like it's so annoying, bro. I got to go through the no situation through like their first 6 questions. And let's be real here. By the 6th question, they don't even want to be bothered. Neither do I at that point, right? Like that happens to me. That used to happen to me all the fucking time, bro. Fucking every interaction I would have. And at a certain point, it's just jarring for me. But that's all I'm surrounded by. So it's like, fuck, I don't play or watch football. Fuck. It happened to me when I was just doing a call to order some parts for a device and then we were just BSing on the phone. I've learned to lie insanely well about being interested in sports or things that I'm not interested in because I hear it talked about so much, I can pretend that I know something about it. And it's easier for me in a lot of cases to do that than to sit there and try to actually like be honest and just be like, I'm not into any of those things. And then it's just awkward because they don't know, they don't have a bridge. They don't have a bridge and they don't understand. I never ask the questions. I never go, are you into anime? I already know the answer to that. And that used to suck. It used to suck that because I didn't share interests with you, it's like we should have just kept walking. But in those cases, I was either classmates or we're working together. So I have to be able to BS to a certain degree. I just got to be able to do that, especially when I'm in a city that is predominantly black. So it's not like I'm running into more of fellow black people who don't get me than the white people who are allowed to be different. One of the things she said in her video that Bris says in her video that I very much relate to is that white people don't feel stuck into being a certain kind of white person. Whereas with black people, if you don't connect on like 3 or 4 different types of things, you're screwed. My only ending conversations was old school music and movies and television. Because I watch Fresh Prince. I watch Smart Guy. I watch Sister Sister. Like, I watch those shows. I could connect, or Good Times with the Jeffersons, right? I could connect to that. But if you're a young black person and I was around you, oh, I was screwed. Hell, I was screwed with people my age. So even though I did find myself in some situations with white kids, especially when I went to private school in high school, where I felt like I was playing up my blackness, I felt more comfortable doing that than playing down my whiteness, quote unquote, to appease black people. Because I didn't, and that's why I got angry. I used to get angry about it because I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Why do I gotta do all this? That's how I used to feel about it. Like, why do I have to do all this? Why am I dealing with you in this way just because we don't have the same innate interest? But I'm the one who has to go through the extra effort to indulge with you, which is the reason why I don't think I ever went her way about trying to be approved. Because it's so much work and it's so tiring and I fucking can't stand it. And it didn't help that I was sheltered and my mom was concerned about like me getting caught up in gang activity when I got older, that she kind of like didn't let me do a lot of things. So not only am I sheltered and I kind of reclused into my anime and video games, but I lost a lot of that connection with people because of those things. And it's just like, damn it. But it still didn't make me feel any better about how open black people would mock people for that. Most of my black friends are like me. They're weird, nerdy black kids who are into that. And I hate that my friends, and they're happily married. Don't get it twisted. I'm happy for them being married. But part of me is like, damn it, they proved my coworker right. Because one of my black friends married a Korean woman. One of my black friends married a white woman. And I went, damn it. And even some of the like celebrities that I like kind of fell into the same boat. And we're the ones who'll get looked at negatively as if we weren't shunned all our lives for being weird or different. I don't think you understand how frustrating it is to get mocked just because you speak well. Just because I use proper English. Not that I couldn't use slang, but I used to get, and I knew what it was. It was because I was different. When everyone else speaks slang and you speak normal or white, you're going to be the outlier. Even if talking proper is better, you're the outlier, so you're the weird one, and you're the one that's about to get chastised and made fun of. That shit sucks. But I get it. Ugly duckling, the odd one out, right? That's what it was. Everybody liked 2K and LeBron James, and you were sitting there trying to play Pokemon and watch Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, did some of those kids like Dragon Ball Z? Absolutely. Did they openly talk about it? No, because they saw you get bullied with it. And I'm just like, fuck. Are you kidding me? That's part of the reason I get mad when I hear about anime fans talking about like now these new ones being like, y'all always like that stuff. I just wasn't trying to get bullied. Bro, I was right there. You could have at least been there with me, dog. And I get it, they're kids. You don't want to hold resentment, but it's also like, bro, you also want me to accept you when you literally shunned me. You were in the same group of kids making fun of me because because I was wearing Pokemon or Digimon or Dragon Ball Z, or Yu Yu Hakusho. Well, not Yu Yu Hakusho, because I didn't watch Yu Yu Hakusho as a kid. Or Zatch Bell outfits and merch on, right? I had all that on and got roasted. And you want to come out 10 years later and be like, I was into it too. Who gives a fuck? Didn't do me any favors. And that's the line I always tread, is try not to be angry about it. But it still bothers me to some degree. I absolutely will acknowledge that. And that's where the frustration kicks in. I accept that it wasn't inherently your fault and it was the peer pressure that every child goes through. And I recognize that even that they may have looked at me not being stereotypically black as an attack on their blackness, even if it's subconsciously. And as a refusal of that, they shunned and rejected me as a result. But the problem I have with it is that it requires me in all of those situations to be the bigger man and accept that, hey, it's not your fault. But that doesn't give me any leniency, because that means I had to take the abuse, not getting why, learning why, and then accept you when you were on the same bullshit. Like, that's crazy to me. And it's a lot to ask of a child, okay? It's a lot to ask of someone, especially when I spent years not getting it. And that's the part that frustrates me the most. That in these situations, we're the ones that are called coons and sellouts and house N-words, right? We're called all these things. And if it took you too long to get it, you became angry and vengeful. And then they're like, well, the stereotype against you uppity N-words is that you think you're better than us. And part of you kind of gains that persona to protect yourself. Because if you don't have it, then you're just being abused as an adult like you were as a child. I wish that part was talked about more and understood. That the anger and the recluseness that happens to those types of individuals like me is purely because either A, we don't want to deal with it, B, we're tired of harassment, or C, we need to care about our own mental health as well too. You motherfuckers are going through your own revolution, and I had to deal with your trauma dumping and not knowing why for years. And so I'm glad, and she's like 7 years younger than me. And it bums me out worse that she's 7 years younger than me, because at least she's 26, I believe, right now. She's 7 years younger than me, and she was still dealing with it. That means coming out of the 90s, I mean, she was probably born in like 98 or something like that she was still dealing with the same nonsense that I was dealing with. And in her, it affected her completely different. She just wanted to be accepted. I didn't even care at that point. I was just angry that it kept happening. But I also feel more disconnected in some ways because of that. And then, of course, the black people I tend to get along with more now are either A, black people who are mixed with something else and have more of a relatable background to mine, or like just non-black people. And it's like, bro, what the fuck? It will always be frustrating to me that that's where things landed. And I hope, if nothing else, that our generation of parents recognize those differences and hopefully cultivate a generation and I've seen it already, that some black kids don't get ostracized as much or have a closer group of friends to help them get through that identity crisis a lot easier than I did. And although, dang, I wish I had that when I was a kid, I'm at least glad it's improving for certain generations of black kids. I think this video in particular just kind of hit me in a way because I'm like, God damn it. She's 7 years younger than me and she was still struggling. And to the point where she felt like to be accepted by her race, she had to essentially throw everything else about her away or hide it. No one should ever feel ashamed of who they are. But it happens all the time. Not with just kids like us, but just other people in general. I just hope, if nothing else, the one thing the black community, one of the things they can start doing more consistently is accepting that when you have more successful black people in future generations, they're going to be different from you. And stop shunning them just because they're different. If we're both black, we both got the same ultimate struggles. We're just dealing with it in different areas of the economy status, right? That's it. Damn, I feel like I'm in my feelings now, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's just kind of my history and my thought process. I rambled a lot here. I'm going to have to figure out how to cut this down because a lot of this is just kind of all over the place. But hope you guys enjoy. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, this has been your boy, the Insane Game Freak. Life is indeed a game. Play to win. And I will catch you guys later. Peace. One piece. I could do the nah. We're better than that. We're better than that. Purple Halok. It's funny, I don't even like Jiu-Jitsu cussing like that, but I'll still do it. Because it's a part of my culture.